gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Crypto Night Show. Your host Superman in the house, and man, have I got a big interview with you for you today, and that is with CryptoGRFX and his Torus product. And we may have a little bit more secret alpha dropping too during the live stream, so you definitely keep your ears attuned because it's going to be a really fun show. And now I've wanted to interview CryptoGRFX for a long time and definitely meet him. Just been one of the best influences, I think, in PulseChain without a doubt. Also, obviously, cross chain over to Titanix as well. And of course, there's a few of us that cover multi-chain stuff, and we've got Brandon out there as well. It's a really fun space to be. So it's going to be really exciting to hear about this. Now, one thing you guys know, when I do my Titanix coverage, I often talk about Torus being one of the ones coming up that I think could be a big game changer. Well, who better than to find out from the founder and developer, CryptoGRFX? So we're going to meet him in 1 second. I just want to say a big shout out to people in the chat there. We've got GooGod, Good Morning Legends. Big shout out to you. We've got HexGo8. Hey, gang, share the stream and hit the likes. Definitely get out and share the stream as well. That's something you should definitely do. Let me just get out on X, actually, and repost that. We are streaming on X, so definitely something you guys can get out and repost. That would be really helpful. I'm going to post the show in the chat there as well, so if you guys can get it out, really helpful. So let's type this in the chat there. Share the show on X. Now, people don't want to miss this one. I think this is going to be a pretty incredible because I think this project may be onto the Holy Grail. So we shall see. Let's have a look. Who else we got in the chat there? We got the Crypto Nobody. Good Morning Legends. Big shout outs. And of course, definitely share the show around there on X, and that really does help with the algorithm. Now, well, that's enough about me. Let's get in and meet CryptoGRFX. So big shout out. Here we go. And welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this. This is it's going to be fun.
Now, you've been around for many years as well. You've been doing an incredible show on your own channels. I think you're an incredible educator and communicator. And now you've moved into development and being a founder of, I think, some pretty cutting edge tokenomics. So I'm very excited to hear, what you got to say about all that. So yeah, I don't know, where do we start off with? Maybe just talk a little bit about yourself for people that haven't seen you before. That'd be really great.
Sure, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. So I got into crypto in 2021. It's funny. I love telling this because everyone has the same reaction. Like, really? My mom actually persuaded me to look into crypto and to start reading like Bitcoin for Dummies and Blockchain for Dummies. And I got in that way, and I had been watching a podcast at the time, and Hex came up. And so I, remembered that, put that in the piggy bank, and then carried on. September of 2021, I was out working in a gold mine, and I was in a rock truck killing time, and I was like, oh, what was that token again? And I flipped through my phone and was like, oh, it's Hex. Okay, what's this thing? So I brought up my phone, downloaded some podcasts. I found Whales Only. And I don't know if you're familiar with Whales Only.
Yep.
And I binge listened to every single episode that dude put up. My mind was blown. And I just was like, because I had this predisposition to crypto of like, Bitcoin's been around for a long time. ETH, it's newer, but like, I feel like there's something new. I feel like this is the MySpace before Facebook and Instagram come out. There's got to be something, and I thought that Hex might be it. Yeah. And so as I am, when I find something that I like and that inspires me, I'm like all in, no matter what. I was talking to everyone about it, and I was learning so much because I was trying to tell people about it. And of course, it's really easy for people to Google Hex, and at the time, the links to Richard Hart's a scammer were off the charts. It's the only thing you could find online about the guy. And so, but I was like, look, I was like, there's no way this guy, there's no way you can make me believe this guy's a scammer. And so I would do more research. And long story short, I ended up having a good friend of mine that I was doing a podcast with, at least temporarily. and we did a episode on crypto. And I had this huge presentation, and I had all this back end stuff where I was gonna looking to sell T-shirts and stuff. And he's like, you know what, dude, you need to go and you need to start a TikTok or YouTube channel, one of the two. And I was like, well, I hate TikTok, so fine, I'll do a YouTube channel. And 30 days later, I had 1,000 subscribers, and it was just like this crazy, like, what is going on here? And so that pulled me into the PulseChain community. I started doing lots of modeling, and I've always had a very systems-oriented mind, in the way I like to basically take things apart, pick things apart. Like I've rebuilt. I'm really mechanical. I used to have cars and rebuild them from the ground up. I had an old 1993 Subaru GC8 with a race motor in it. I rebuilt that from the ground up again. That was a crazy project. Mm-hmm. So I've like systems mind, and I started building this repertoire of understanding how to deconstruct these tokens and understand, project into the future, like what might happen to supply, like T-shares and Hedron and Icosa. And eventually I started to realize, like, I was actually starting to predict some stuff. And obviously there was the nuance of, like, I was also missing some other things pretty heavily, but starting to get how to map out mechanics. And fast forward to not this past December that had just passed, but the previous one, I was asked on stream after getting into the Titan X ecosystem, what would you like to see built on Titan X? And I had this idea. I just blurted it out on stream. And after a stream, I was thinking about it, and I was like, wait, maybe I should chase that. And I started like plotting it down, and I came up with this whole idea. Turns out it was way too expensive. I gave up on it completely. Literally gave it away to a group of people and said, if you guys, I think I knew they could afford it. So like, you guys can have this white paper. You can do whatever you want with it. And I walked away. And it's like the moment I walked away, the idea for Torus came in, and I scrambled back to the computer to delete the white paper, delete everything I sent into the group, and started designing like crazy again. And fast forward to another 6 months, and now we're here where I have this amazing protocol that, is now actually on testnet. It's functioning. The contracts are almost complete. Like, it's in audits. It's just been this crazy journey. And I couldn't.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Yeah.
So
I haven't gone through it. It's obviously your experience, but I can just, intellectually, I can just tell that's a crazy experience to have. It's pretty much. Now, I did watch that live stream that you talked about giving the white paper away and all that. So, had the idea and you blurted it. I did watch that, I think at the time. So, yeah. And I kind of smirked myself when I was watching it. I was going, something's happening here.
That's, though, that's how it goes. I feel like when you let something go, other ideas can come in, but when you're super attached and like focused in, it's sometimes really hard to see the thing. So that was probably one of the most mad scrambly moments I've ever had in my life, though, of trying to retract statements and delete white papers and make sure no one saw that.
Yeah. So I mean, you're not a coder, so you've had the idea, and we're going to talk about that today. But you're not a coder per se, and so you've got a team that's hired for exactly. Your coder. Yeah, awesome. All right,
exactly. Yeah, I've got a fantastic team, very experienced individuals. Actually, they're public as well. So buildthetech.com. If you know Regs to Riches, it's his company.
Brandon. Yep.
So
I knew that. I just wanted to hear you say it.
Of course. They're great. I would love to shout them anytime I can.
Represent. Hey, Brandon, peace out there. No, he's terrific. So he's doing amazing stuff, and we're going to talk a little bit about Brandon and his stuff, I think, when we're talking about Torus coming up. And so, yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. So I guess that's a wonderful background about yourself. And of course, as you know, I'm a big fan, so that's easily done. What is Torus? This is a high level as a concept. What is that?
For sure. It's it's the simplest and one of the most risk possible styles of platforms you could have. It's designed so that whether the price is high or low, you could always make your tokens work for you, and you don't have to delay gratification 15 years to make it worth your while. That's the whole point of Torus, is to be a simple, effective, compounding machine over time that, when you look at it systemically, it rewards those who play in the system continuously over a longer period, which emulates that same 15-year style delayed gratification without requiring you to lock in, and it's a very unique system where you stake when the prices are high, and you do a mining like action when the price, or sorry, you stake when the prices are lower, and you mine like a similar action to a mining called creation when the prices are high, to make sure you're basically leveraging market conditions at all times to grow your bag as fast as possible. That's the point of Torus.
So, the holy grail of crypto tokenomics, in my view, is can you get the buy side pressure, not necessarily, instantaneous or continuous, but actually at different periods of time? Will it stay largely robust over a long period of time? That's kind of the holy grail. Can you get the buy pressure? Can you be the sustainability? And I feel like this is where Taurus is trying to target. And of course, if you can achieve something even close to that ideal, that's pretty incredible in crypto, because I think a lot of tokens sort of on the supply side, and we've even with some of the buy and burn mechanisms and stuff like that, it's just not enough. But it's a big important part, but it's not enough. And so I just, with this idea, can you just flesh that out a bit, just so people really get into it? Because I think it's actually really important. That
For
sort
sure.
of secret sauce, as it were.
Yeah. So let's look at it like the easiest way to understand Torus is Bitcoin with changes that allow you to capitalize on market conditions, because the supply is the exact same curve, if you will, as Bitcoin. So it's like super inflationary in the early days, right? And then it gets more and more difficult over time, and until a point where, like, instead of there being block rewards, though, there's like a daily block reward, right? There's like one block per day, and whoever's in the pool just gets some of that block reward per day. But
Nice.
what typically happens, though, in Bitcoin, specifically, right? So this is actually, I'll tell a cool like evolution of how this goes and how this all came together. So in Bitcoin, you need mining hardware, and then your cost basis is your point of when you are or are not profitable anymore, right? And so the problem is, though, is if you're a miner, you have to wait till the prices go back up, or you have to sell at a loss in order to be profitable once they go once your rewards or BTC goes past a certain point. And if you're a holder, you can't stake, right? So it's either buy and hold and hope to God it goes up, or you spend a bunch on expensive hardware and hope you literally hit the lottery, because that's what obviously the mining is. You're trying to hit the lottery number.
Yeah.
And so then fast forward to now hex staking, that tried to do the inverse, where the holders are the people that get the power, right? Where now you stake and you can capture that supply, but the problem is in a bull market, there's no action to amplify, like in a mining where you have a cost basis here, right? And then you can basically get hex at a lower price to make it so that you're even more profitable than by doing another action. Titan brought that back in, and it had staking, but there was a slight disconnect there. So this is based to Torus now, allows you to act like a miner in a bull market and really compound what your bags. But then when it goes into the lower side of the price spectrum, now all of a sudden you're not stuck holding the bag. Now what you can do is you can act exactly like a miner, because the length of creating and the length of staking are exactly the same. They both bring you into that central pool to get those block rewards, as we're referring to them as, right? But what happens is, so you create, you're all of a sudden now you're not in profit anymore, or the system's no longer profitable to create. You go and you stake. This mitigates sell pressure, holds up the price. Meanwhile, the buy and burn is still pushing up the price. And when you stake, and if you have a decent chunk of users are going to stake when this dynamic shifts over to lower prices, then the supply is locked up. Then the buy and burn is still getting economic energy from staking, which is another unique thing with Torus. You have to pay to play even to stake. And so it relieves sell pressure. The buy and burn can push the price back up and get the flywheel going again. So really, we should see this oscillation over time around a price point or a price floor that is rising ever so slightly, which is just totally different dynamics than what we've seen elsewhere. I'm really, really excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and that is different, and I really like it. Have you seen XUSD, Vibratile XUSD on PulseChain?
I am aware of it. I have been in my own thing. I haven't
different mechanisms, but they do have I think some sort of rough. I mean, I don't think it's as well. At least I won't say that. But it's not as systemic as yours, I guess, or systematic as yours. The right word there, but they have the idea of a price, like a value path, a price path, and an oscillation in that value as they go up. different mechanisms. They have incentives for trading and things like that. But yeah, that is exciting, dude. Honestly, I really like the sound of this, and yeah, hopefully people got a bit of idea of that flesh out there, because I think this could be a real game changer. And it's going to be fun to see that. And of course, arguably you're starting, just at the beginning of possibly the banana part of the bull market. So it could be pretty incredible for sure. And
I
of
hope
course,
it is.
it's built on the back of Titanx, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's got Titanx got the big buy and burn with was it $13 million in it at the moment or something? Yeah, so
Yep.
yeah, and that's in there plus Dragon X plus all the Hyper and Hydra with all that too. So yeah, man, this could be a fun ride. That's for sure.
Oh.
Now, shall we? I just want actually I had one more question before we get into the websites and stuff, and that is you kind of alluded to it on this live stream that you did back in I think around December. What's your motivation? Why is, I guess, the question? Why do it? Because I think that's always a fun thing to ask.
For sure. Well, you know what? I'm actually hilarious. I'm laughing at myself a lot of the time because last summer, if you were watching some of my videos, or if anyone was, I was in a little bit of a crisis of like, what am I doing here? I felt kind of lost. I was a journalist kind of guy. I'm not a journalist. I don't like reporting on other people's stuff. I have a lot of creative energy. I like to bring that out, and that energizes me. But when I wasn't being creative and I was just reporting on things that were going on, I was getting drained. But I love creating. Anytime I could come up with a cool idea or model something or discover something through going through these systems, and it really energized me. And so and also reflecting on my own, when I'm in these markets, especially like a lot of the coins that we're in, they're quite volatile. I'm also a sensitive individual, and so that combination is not very good. But what I can do really well is when I design something, I can be a lot more emotionally stable. I've seen that in myself, and so for me to be in this space, and to create something is a lot more sustainable and energizing than to, toss my money into something and rely on someone else for the price to go up. That didn't really work for me. And so when this came up, I just felt so energized. It was like, it was a choiceless choice. And that I just felt like the only thing I should do, just chase this. Right. This feels like, from the branding to the name, to the simplicity, to the tokenomics, it's all an expression of me in a nutshell. Yeah. And so to me, this was just like so close to home. I was like, why wouldn't I do this? Why wouldn't I take a chance? Why wouldn't I take a massive risk and see what happens here? Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell.
Well, you know what? It's. I think that's a beautiful thing because we're all fun about crypto, but actually, this is a demonstration to me of someone really realizing and sort of shining their personality, as it were. I really do think it's amazing what you've been doing with it. So, and a nice transition too. We will we'll get into the website, and don't forget, you guys get your questions in. If you got questions about Torus, provide the links up the top of the chat. So definitely check that out as well. Brendan's got a good question before we get going. Actually, why the name Torus? So could it maybe get into that?
Yeah. So I actually had designed. So what a torus is it's an electromagnetic toroidal field. And you can actually witness this in nature, in science. There's a lot of experiments that have been shown. And, one that blew my mind actually was there's a clip of a guy who has a ferrule cell, which is like an LED cell, and he puts a round magnet into the cell. And if you go look at the Torus logo, go look at it really closely. And I've shared this on my X account. It blew my mind. It's the exact logo that is Torus, but that's what the magnetic field looks like for a circular magnet under a microscope, essentially. And so this is like, when you look at life, life has all these properties of electromagnetism throughout it. Like everything is vibrating, everything has a frequency, and whether you deem it as spiritual or scientific doesn't really matter, but there are these electromagnetic aspects to this life. And to me, it was like, wow, this kind of connects us all, And so I had actually, it's fundamental to my own understanding of, why we're here, what's going on, who's who, all this stuff. Right? It's a very close to home thing there, but I'd actually designed a whole protocol ecosystem that was like me trying to branch out. Like, if I was to recreate Titan X, what would I do? And so I created a protocol named Torus, which was like the Titan X clone. Then I had ESP, which is the external staking protocol. I had Sol protocol, which is like a mining style protocol. And I had Eros and Logo. So it was very like, this is on brand for me, just like really putting out, the way I see life kind of out there. And I had some ideas for this and I've forgotten about this. And then next thing you know, I remember, oh shit, wait, hold on. What was that name of that token I had again? Oh my God, perfect. Right. So then it just fit right in. And as soon as the logo came right afterwards, and it was like, okay, this is exactly how it needs to be. So it's very close to home on many, many levels.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're going to look at that, I think, on the website or something. So
Yep.
Thomas has got a nice little lead-in question here too, which actually fits. Why not use Hex over Titan X? I would think it does better this cycle. Now, obviously, you were talking about Titan Hex and the evolution of Titan X as well, so it probably fits in quite nicely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had a lot of people ask me like, why not Ink? Why not Hex? Why? I am actually building a version of Torus that is going to be called Unity, and it will live on PulseX. Now, the reason I chose PulseX is because there's no inflation. If I'm going to have a token that has inflation, I'm not going to build it on something that has even more inflation. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
I love Hex. I think Hex will do great. I think there are other systems that are better suited to help Hex and possibly burn its supply more, not add more inflation. And it just made more sense to go with PLSX for Unity specifically. But
I think that's a smart move on that one. I think that's a really good move. Yep.
Well, and if you think about it from like a very like a positive, like if you're looking for feedback loops, like what kind of mechanics enhance each other, right? If you have a deflationary token, right, which can only get more expensive over time if you're putting demand into it while reducing supply, right? And simultaneously, that thing is attached, the thing that you've built is attached at the hip to it. You're kind of have the best case scenario where you're forcing this thing to get more valuable underneath what you've built. It's dragging what you've built on top. And simultaneously, the more valuable it gets, the more demand it's bringing in and the more burning it's doing of the token underneath. So it was really important to choose deflationary assets to build on. And I did choose Titan X first because I think Titan X in the community really showed me a camaraderie and a builder community that is super, super supportive. And PulseChain is an incredible community, but it's different, And so I learned so much from Titan X that I felt like it was necessary to just go on Titan X first. And that doesn't mean Torus or Unity is any more or less important to me. It just means I'm going here first and Unity will come afterwards at some point. And each of them are, going to be my babies and are and equally important to me. Yeah.
100%. And look, Tom Boss, you got out the Unity thing before we were going to talk about it. So
right.
Tom Boss, thank you. But 100%. So there is a project on Titan X, going to be a project on PulseX. So it's all coming from CryptoGRFX, and we're going to hear more about that later on. So let's get into it. I've put more links in the chat there so you guys can get hold of CryptoGRFX and of course Torus. It is on testnet, and we're going to talk about that too. But let's change our point of view and check out some of the Taurus stuff here on testnet right now. And we'll break down a bit of the white paper and some of the highlights as we move forward and then end up with the socials, I guess, is the logical place.
Yeah.
So, kind of cool. All right, let's go. Wow, I'm rich.
I know, right? Oh man, I love this stat.
So before you start, beautiful branding as usual from CryptoGRFX. So well done.
Thank you.
I love the golden color too. It's like on the back. This is from the gold field where you remembered about your head.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what's actually funny about that is if you look at the you might notice, and this was not planned. This was not planned at all. But if you look at the colors for the Torus logo, what has the same color palette? The thing that started it all for me, Hex.
Yeah.
I didn't plan that. I literally had a friend send me a badass dragon image with like this orb that was like to represent a Torus, and it had this purple gold combo, and I was like, that is sweet. I sent it to my designer who I'd sent like this style of logo to, and he just popped this out, and then like 3 months later, I realized, oh my God, this is like this. This is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
full
yeah.
circle moment. Wow.
Well,
So
it's
it was really cool.
after some stuff you've told me, it actually I'm reading a lot more into this than I would have otherwise. So I got your
Right.
gold mining in the middle. I got the hex story now. I've got the electromagnetic forces. I got
There's a
the
lot to this.
it's,
Yeah, I love that
yeah,
you're picking up on that though. That's awesome.
it's a lot of stuff. I'm getting overwhelmed here. I'm getting overwhelmed. Uh, So yeah, that's beautiful logo. So yeah, branding top notch, and you always crush that. So yeah, let's see
I
if we get
appreciate that.
back to the site there. So this is actually the stats page. So I've started on the web page, but it's we're in crypto. Show me the money, and we got some pretty awesome results. Apparently it's day 127. I don't know, but yeah. Should we kick it off? Do you want to start with the white paper or the website here?
Let's do the site here because it's very easy to get lost in the weeds in the white paper. But if we're
Yep.
here, this is the easiest thing to follow.
All
So
right.
of all the things we're talking about, this is how simple Torus really is. You show up to the earn page here. You scroll down to get this window, this UI front and center here, and you look at that ROI there. You see, okay, this is for the creating side. The ROI is 438%. Now I'm going to go over and I'm going to compare that by clicking on the stake button. That's up just a little higher. And I'm going to see, okay, you know what? Staking is actually higher ROI. So I want to stake.
Yeah.
That's everything from a user perspective. That's it.
Yeah. And look how simple you've made it, which is, back to your communication abilities again. It's beautiful.
Appreciate that.
This is like a Rolls Royce of crypto project, really. I think it does look really, really good.
Thank you. I really
both a
wanted it to
design
be
and an image.
Yeah, I wanted so badly for this to be like something where you could say, "Hey, Gran," or "Hey, Granny, go check this site out," and you can make it work. And she could literally hop on and click the 2 buttons it takes to make it happen. I wanted it to be that simple. And I mean, luckily, I do have a designer and a team for the back end and everything that have assisted an incredible amount and made this come to life. But I love it. And what's great about it too is you don't have to have Titan-X. If you have a Titan-X bag and you're like, I don't want to give up my Titan-X. I love my Titan-X.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to. Go bring some ETH in. And you see that where the Titan-X and it says ETH unavailable on testnet. That's going to be a button that when mainnet goes live, you're going to be able to click and just switch over to ETH. And it's going to show you the deposit amount underneath that little bar. And it'll be an ETH. And you can just bring that into the system. So you don't have to spend it. Yeah, you can just bring an ETH or Titan-X. It makes it so simple.
Yeah. It pulls more ETH into the system altogether with the Titan-X ecosystem. So yeah, fantastic.
Exactly.
But man, this is so elegant, dude. It is breathtaking, honestly. We've obviously seen hundreds of protocols, and this is really incredible, nice and simple, easy to follow. People are going to get lost in the weeds. So create Torus. We've got the power, we've got the earn length, and of course, maybe want to talk a bit about this from people that maybe not too familiar with the old terminology there.
Yeah, absolutely. So creating is, if you're not familiar with mining at all, that's totally fine. But if you are used to mining, creation is similar-ish. Now, power works the same way mining does. So what power is essentially like there is a scale in the system for how much economic energy in Titan-X terms you can utilize at a time at the minimum or the max. The maximum you can input is 1 million power, right? Which brings you up to essentially 1 trillion Titan-X. If you go to 1 power, it's 1 million. So the minimum amount you can bring in the system for 1 power is 1 million, currently worth 22 cents, right? So you have a huge span that you can choose between, and you don't have to choose increments of 1, 10, 100. You can do, 19, you could do 333, you can do whatever you want. So you get really granular and really precise with the amount of economic energy that you want to bring in the system. And so that's what the power is selecting. So it's selecting how much Titan-X or ETH you want to use. The earn length is exactly as it sounds. This is the period that you're going to lock up for or wait for and allow yourself to earn, which could be at 1 days all the way up to 88 days, right? So it's that simple from the how do these buttons work perspective. But the thing that I want to really touch on here is there is the deposit There's the created and the estimated earned here. The deposit amount goes into the system and you're forfeiting that. What you're going to get is guaranteed the created Torus. That's like you say, the system saying, okay, you're putting in 10 billion. I'm going to guarantee at the end of your term, you can claim no matter what, regardless of penalties, you're going to get 903.99 or whatever the amount is in created Torus, right? This is the similarity to mining where you're guaranteed to get something up front as what you can claim at the end, no matter what. The estimated earned is where this system comes to life. And this is where the competitive side of the earning potential comes in. Now, this is an estimation based on the future shares that are the average number of shares projected 88 days into the future, right? So this estimation is close, but not guaranteed. It could say 438% ROI, but it could also turn out to be, you get 1 or 2 or 300% ROI. It depends on who comes in after you. And because this system changes with more or less participation, it's impossible to predict that. So this ROI measure here, it's more important to look at this as a direction in to create or to stake versus, am I really going to get, 20,000% ROI if it manages to say that, right? Because that can change in a heartbeat because more people can come in after you. So again, the created amount is guaranteed. The estimated is not guaranteed, but it's a projection to show you if no one else comes into the system as of right now, this is what you will get. So just important to understand that.
You create 903, you're going to potentially earn estimated of 4,483 in this example. On the testnet version, obviously. It says you've got Taurus shares of 7 million as well.
Correct. Yes.
So there's a share rate in this.
There is a share rate. Exactly. And this is, taking in from Hex, Hedron, Icosa, and even Titanx, because the shares have been a common practice. And the shares are what the system looks at to pay you in Torus based on your share of the pool, right? And so one Torus will always be worth 7,744 shares when created or staked over 88 days. So that's a constant.
Oh, that's different then, yeah.
Yep. So instead of it going up over time, the system gets more difficult, but the tokens are always worth the same in their share in the system, but it gets harder to get them into the system over time. So, and then that's what connects the creating and staking. So now if we go over to the creating side,
before we do that, to go over the staking side, the ROI here, 438. What are the key variables that would make that move around besides obviously people coming in after you? What are some of the key variables that might make that move?
So there's two main ones, I should say. So we've already know about the people coming after, and it's people currently in the pool, people that come after you, and then also the price of Torus relative to Titanx, because this ROI specifically is looking at, okay, your cost was in Titanx terms. What's what you got out on the other side? And how does that relate to your Titanx that you put in? And so if Torus tanks in price, you could start with an ROI like this. And if people are selling down, the next time you go around, you could be creating the same amount of tokens and this ROI could be negative in the Torus system because Torus is much lower than it should be, right? That being said, though, the staking ROI is going to be more stable. We'll go into that in a bit.
We'll go into that in a bit. I was about to move there.
But does that make sense of where the ROI comes from?
It does, 100%. I just wanted the people to have an understanding of the ROI, what will move it.
Great.
So that that's kind of the key thing there, I think, for people to understand.
For sure. And the big thing
I just want
to say one last thing real quick is this ROI is going to be wildly variable compared to the staking ROI. So just keep that in mind. You're going to see this thing come up and go down and come up and go down because the price is going to do a lot in controlling what this ROI is likely to be, right? The system is designed over time. You play the game going back and forth between staking and creating, and that's how this system becomes most effective to constantly be building your bag.
Yeah, and that's that. Besides the ROI, I think that's the key takeaway there. Is really it's going to be dynamic, and that's part of the seesaw almost action that's going on here.
Exactly.
Now you've got you got creations down here, active creations, claimable creations, end creations. We'll come back to that, I think. But let's jump over the stake, and we've got the stake as well. Let me just scroll that down a little bit there. So you got the ROI at 464%. and you've actually got a little bit of explanation. The estimates drop as new participants join based on current participation. So has that got the same dynamics essentially?
Exactly.
Yeah, driving, and you've got the Taurus amount. So obviously you can buy off the market, right? Or you can, maybe you've created it previous day, and you can pop it into here for staking. Yeah,
Exactly.
and you got the max day is 88, same as the creation. You obviously can have Ethereum, but you got Titanx you can use to stake, and you got a deposit amount here. You got the stake Taurus. You got the earn Taurus. So pretty similar setup, very simple, similar to the mirroring the other one. And the Taurus shares at 7 million here for the staked. So I guess the simple question is, what drives the difference between these two, between creation and staking?
So the big thing about creation is you're depositing 100% either Titanx or ETH, and you're only getting back Torus, right? With staking, you're depositing Titanx a small amount, right? It's like in this case, you're putting in you want to stake what you already own, which is in this case like almost $2,000, and you're going to pay, which in this case is 5% of the value, and it will be like this relatively throughout the protocol. It's a 5% fee relative to the creation side, and you don't get the Titanx back. The Titanx goes in the system. This acts as a fair launch metric where it keeps malicious actors from scraping yield forever and owning the pool, and actually, it makes them essentially cannibalize themselves over time if they do that for too long. It's why a Dragon X could not be built on Torus. Nothing like that could be built on Torus. It would cannibalize itself. So the big thing to understand here, though, is when you stake your Torus, you're going to get back your Torus. That's the big thing. You're going to deposit a little bit of Titanx or ETH. You're going to stake your Torus, but you're going to get back your Torus plus an amount that you earned over that 88-day period, like yield. Now, the ROI is different in how it works for relative to the stake or the creation side. So because the staking side, you are putting in essentially like your stake tokens, your collateral that you're going to get back, right? And so you're essentially looking at an ROI that is more like a hex staking APY, where it's priced mostly in token value, right? So this creates a much more stable ROI, and this means that you could see a negative 90% creation ROI and over 100% staking ROI. This is totally possible with the Torus system.
That's awesome, yeah.
So that's the big difference. But they both have this tipping point where if the price goes below a certain threshold, all of a sudden staking now is more profitable. If it goes back up over, now creation is more profitable. So they're both operating on that threshold perfectly, but the way the ROI is calculated is slightly different for both.
Okay, and are those formulas in the white paper?
They should be, yeah. Let me just double check, but I think
just asking question. All right.
Yeah, everything should be in the white paper, I believe.
Oh, that's very neat. I like that. So it's kind of like the seesaw action. And you've also got the stakes down here: active stakes, claimable stakes, end stakes. On that page. Now, I guess we can move on to the next one, the burn.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess this Titanx that's going in, it's going somewhere, right?
Exactly. And that's where the burn page comes in.
The burn page comes in. All right.
Yeah.
So we got the burn page.
Perfect segue. So we've got...
We love the burns.
Oh, and there's a big one here. You guys are going to love this one. So the buy and burn for Torus is 84% of all the economic energy that comes into the protocol. 84% perpetually. The buy and what that means for people that aren't familiar. So ETH comes into the system or Titanx comes into the system. 84% or 84 cents on every dollar goes to this contract, which is dedicated to buying Torus off the market and burning it forever. So imagine the Bitcoin supply with a crazy buy and burn on it. That's kind of how this is going to work. It's going to be very hyper deflationary over time. And you could even say hyper disinflationary initially. Those are fancy words though. So you can almost just like scrap that. It's just jargon at that point, but the buy and burn's huge. And so these are going to be each callable every 10 minutes. And it's not going to, the way these contracts work is it's not going to go Titanx buys ETH or ETH buys Titanx. And then the Titanx now sits in a contract for a while. And then that Titanx has to go and get use to call and burn Torus. It doesn't work like that. When you select, or when you go a little bit lower and you see the buttons that are there and you click engage or buy and burn, then that ETH that's in the contract or the Titan X goes all the way through, buys Torus, and burns it. So there's never this like intermediate kind of thing going on where like, one contract doesn't go all the way through and the other one does. Both contracts go from ETH to Torus or from Titan X to Torus all the way through. And they're going to be, it's locked for every 10 minutes. There's an amount that can be called. So that's huge in my opinion. There's going to be
huge. It is huge.
Yeah. So as a very simplistic overview of the buy and burn, that's the buy and burn in a nutshell. Now the buy and build is a different kind of contract, which still adds buy pressure to the Torus token. But instead of it buying and burning, it buys Torus and it actually builds its own liquidity pool. So the way you can think of this is like here it says next buy and build is $7,500, right? So in this case, what the system would do is it would take that, it would divide it in half. So you'd have like 3750, right? And change. You have 3750 that it would take. It would use 3750 to buy Torus and take the other 3750 in Titan X and put those in a full range Uniswap V3 pool, well, the main pool, to build its liquidity continuously. And it'll do this every 10 minutes. Okay. So this needed to happen for Torus because volatility is, in the game, but the more stable that this protocol can be, the better it operates, right? The more time it can spend in the creation zone, the more time it can also spend just in the staking zone. Both have major benefits, allow bigger users to come in and out. It attracts bigger audiences. And I really wanted to make sure that this protocol matured properly without relying on anyone else to have to do it. I wanted it to be built in so it operates on its own like that perpetually.
Fantastic. And as user rewards, just looking down the bottom here. Yeah, cool. And then we've got the Fractal as well. So tell us about this.
Yes. So the Fractal is, if you're familiar, so for those of you that are familiar with Hyper and Hydra, this is basically the Vortex, just with a little bit of a longer period. Instead of it being 98 days, it's 110 days, which is kind of cool because it lines up every 8 cycles with the initial 88-day cycles within the protocol. So little nugget there that might have something in the future for people to get excited about in 880 days, which is a long ways away. But how the Fractal works in a nutshell is the buy and burn is sent 84 cents on every dollar, right? But essentially a quarter of that, so 21 cents of that 84 cents is taken and locked away in this vault called the Fractal. So that way, into the future, if the buy and burn is running hot and it does run out temporarily, there is funds still in the protocol that will be deposited automatically back in the buy and burn to replenish the system to get it towards its next point where it can bring in more economic energy again. And that's the point of the Fractal. It's very simple, happens automatically.
Cool. I like it. Right, so that's the buy and burn. And then you've got the stats page, which is beautiful as usual. And the Taurus pool payout is pretty juicy. Day 127 on testnet. Tell us a little bit about that. We'll keep that down there. There we go.
Yeah. So now I wanted to have this because I want people to understand on a daily basis how much they're getting a piece of each day. And people can do this calculation too. They can go and look, okay, there's 8.5 million tokens in the first 88 days. And if they multiply that number by the price that Titan X or the Torus will be at the time, they get the total value of the system or the tokens that they can earn over that period. And so over 88 days, it might not be like if Torus were to launch today, the market price and the actual value of the Torus pool, if we were on day 127, would actually be accurate. So that's a real thing to consider here. But this is the power of Torus in that you could be earning a slice of between $100 and $200 or more $1,000 a day for a long time if the system performs very well. If Titan X performs very well, it's going to drag up Torus. And you could see these numbers like this, which means if you have 1% of the pool, in this case, you're earning $1,900 a day. I mean, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty hard to argue with.
And this is the thing is that sitting behind this, obviously this is awesome. sitting behind us is Titan X, and it's big buy and burn and all the mechanics around the other protocols, and of course the ETH price as well. Yeah, this could inflate very easily. Not financial advice, all that good stuff, but this is pretty exciting. Yeah. And we've got a distribution down the bottom here with this beautiful little advanced donut. We got the Torus supply, burn Torus, and stake Torus there. Now, this is a testnet. How long has the testnet been running? It says 127 days, but
so it's been live for 127 hours publicly then.
Okay, cool. So about an hour a day.
Exactly. Yeah, just to make things speed up on testnet so we can make sure that everyone's doing their stuff.
Torus wasn't enough for you, and electromagnetism, you had to redefine all our physics as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Our time. But so in here, it's got the burn. Is that what you would expect to see after 127 hours? Is that
no one's clicking the buy and burn because it's
clicking buy and burn. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no one's clicking the buy and burn. This is not going to be at all. And you can see there's a couple edits that still need to happen within the DApp. It says Series 1 that's going to be to Torus supply, stake Torus, have all the proper decimal points and the labeling there as well. So and we've also got a couple goodies that are coming to really, it's already beautiful, but we're not done. There's a few things we're working on to bring into the DApp to really take it to the next level. It's complicated and there's some troubleshooting involved in getting it right. And so it'll really shine even more brightly than it already does. But yeah.
So for me, just coming back to the prize pool here, so to speak, this is regarding your promotions and that. Are you going? It seems to me that if people are getting paid out from here, something I really haven't seen much of is people giving the option to get a ping that their payouts out there, so they get I just feel like that engagement from a website into you're sort of interacting with their personal lives by somehow giving them a ping, maybe by email or whatever. I don't know, but it just seems this seems like the perfect type of protocol for that. Food for thought, anyway.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, to riff on that for a moment, I bet you could make like a web page that spoofs your wallet. You could put in your wallet address, and every time the day ticks over, it looks at by spoofing your wallet and what's in it on this DApp. It'll update new 30 Torus or new 1,000 Torus or what. That's actually an interesting idea. I think it's something I really don't see enough of, and I think it's actually, particularly for this type of protocol, I think all protocols, but this one here would work pretty well, is that if people could actually, because that way people get busy, right? Like they might stake and then they'll go away. Just like we know you in the gold mine, and you sort of like Hexa, and it's maybe you would have got a ping a bit earlier, right? And maybe every week you got a ping or something, whatever. Payouts, and that could be pretty cool. The other thing, of course, is Jake Sharp did a very good thing when he launched Titan X, and that was pinging people, being able to promote their payouts on X, those kind of thing. I think they're really good too. And so just a couple of thoughts there anyway around. Well, can I share my screen? Because what you can't see is what I have, because you haven't started any creations or stakes, but I have that on my screen, and I'd love to share that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, feel free if you've got it there. I don't know how we do that, but we're trying to, let's see, add the scene. There we go. Let's put that in here. We'll just put that in there at the moment. And let me see. How's that? That's all right.
That works?
Yep.
Works for me. Sweet. So now if we go down here, we can see in the claimable creations, you can claim, but in the ended creations, and this also goes for active creations as well. The same thing as for stakes. You can actually come here and there's a share button, and you click this and it pops up your ROI, your cost, created, earned, current progress. And what's really cool, check this out. So if we go to the stake side, there is, for active creations, what it will show is, 34%, and it'll show you your ROI. So check this out. You have 121% ROI, only day 30 of 88. That was important to put in there to make people realize, like, whoa, this still has 58 days to go, So
that's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can just take a screenshot, click the button, it'll do its thing. And the other, so we have the share button there. This is there for the ended and the active stakes, or the active and ended creations as well. I took everything I could from, Jake, from Richard, from from Alex with Hedron Lycosa, from every founder that I ever loved what they did in their protocol. So I think we're pretty much there on that front.
Nice. All right. All right, let's remove that little scene. What else we can do? Right. So let's jump over here. You got a buy button as well, obviously, to buy, which is pretty nice. And here's a little bit of secret sauce right there. Do we see what we see up there? What is that? With Switch. Who does Switch? Aha.
Well, you might know him.
AKA Brandon, formerly Rags to Riches, and of course his development team, was it something for tech? Was it
Build the Tech? Yes.
Build the Tech.
Now it's a little slow at the moment. We're looking into exactly why, but if you hold that widget open for a moment, I wanted to have everything in app. I wanted to have it so that people could show up with their Titanx or their ETH, and they could look at the creation ROI. And if the creation ROI is higher, they could just go ahead and they could just create. Or if they showed up with ETH or Titanx and the staking ROI was higher, they could just go select ETH and then or Titanx and then swap it for Torus and then go into the system. Or if they want to compound, sell their Torus for Titanx or ETH or whatever they want to do and go back in the system for creation. And it's interesting that it's not loading because for me, it doesn't take quite this long. So I wonder, we'll have to look into that.
Maybe it's because I've got the zone. I don't know. Let me try that again. I haven't got my wallet connected. I don't know if that's an issue, but
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah. I've heard a couple people talking about that. So we're looking into that, though. That's going to be something that's easy.
I'll at least see it for real. Okay, cool. And people can connect their wallet. You got a timer up here, day and time. Is that that's relevant for the payouts or something?
Yes. So at the end of every day, there is, when the timer ticks over to the next day, the payout occurs. So this is like the difficulty timer where, payouts happening it'll be every 24, in this case, every hour, right? Yeah. So if you're getting in the system now and it's literally coming up to 54 minutes, every hour is the payout, you'd want to make sure you get in before the next day ticks over. Now, the way the timing works though for the staking and creating is you can't do a 1-day stake by starting it now and then 5 minutes later when it ticks over, you're technically on the next day, so you can just end it. It's 24-hour timers for when exactly, right? So you can't game the system in that way.
Fair play field, playing field. All right, now just going down the bottom here. So you got the supply statistics as well. Burnt Torus, staked Torus, and the total shares in existence. And I guess is there any? There's not really any particular cap. I mean, it's infinite demand increases the shares that it works.
Say that again, sorry. And what do you mean?
Like there's no real cap to the amount of shares or the amount of tokens. It's really based on the demand that's coming through the system.
No. Sorry. So the shares, I guess technically there is a cap on shares because there is actually a cap on supply. There's a max supply of about 125 million.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. All right.
Yep. So to go on that for a second, the first day's payout is based on 100,000 Torus.
Okay. Cool.
That's the thing here. We hadn't gotten there yet, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So it starts at 100,000, and every single day that amount in the pool reduces by 0.08% perpetually. So it's always there's less and less and less and less and less every single day. And that same mechanic is also in place for the creating difficulty and the staking difficulty, meaning if you put 10 billion Titanx into the system on day 1, you're going to get 1,000 Torus. If you put it in on day 2, you're going to get 999.2 Torus. Day 3, 99,800 and so on, right? So, and the staking costs follow that as well. So every day it gets harder to earn and more expensive to earn perpetually.
Are those numbers on the website in terms of?
They're in the white paper.
In the white paper. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I honestly thought about putting it in the DApp here, but it was just getting to, there's a lot of numbers already, and
you could put a little I button to reference that if that's a key fundamental.
It's actually not a bad point. Yeah, a little tool tip.
I don't want to ruin the simplicity and beauty of this, and that's what I like. But I mean, a little I button probably couldn't go astray, and people can take them onto that key page or something.
That's a good idea. And that's why we're doing testnet for these ideas, right? To make sure it's perfect by the time it goes out.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that's the website. It looks fantastic, guys. So
Thank you.
I'm going to post the link to. I'll post the link to this in the chat there if you guys want to get on there, and we'll talk about how you can actually use that because it's on the testnet.
Well, and there's actually one more page we can. That's
can we?
technically it's hidden. There's not because there's not a home button on this page. But if you go and you delete in that URL, earn the / and earn, and you just enter the URL without earn, you will go to the homepage that we're working on as well. That's pretty much there. But this is the landing page that people are going to see at Torus.win when it goes live. Beautiful. So the buttons are going to change a little bit, but and there's some other stuff we're working on. But this is more or less what you're going to see, where people are going to come here, they get an idea of exactly what Torus is. You're going to have the active, actual staking and creation ROIs. You're going to have a video that people can watch by Crypto Explained. It's going to show you the next day's payout, the total amount of Torus burned. And then there's all the links for the Dex screener, YouTube, the Telegram, and the X account for Torus as well.
Nice. I like that. Very, very cool.
That's it.
Beautiful. It's a piece of art. Right. So that's the website. So you guys can check it out. I'll post that in the chat there. And we'll talk about how you can use it on the testnet. So we're going to jump over to, I think, to the white paper here. And we'll quickly, before we go through any highlights in the white paper, we'll go through the testnet here quickly. So that was the front end that we just posted in the chat, which you can see. And then number 2, you have to use Sepolia there. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's the testnet ETH. Basically, because it's on testnet, it's not real money. Please don't try and send your actual funds over there. You have to go and mine this fake ETH, and it can be a little hard to get because a lot of people use Sepolia Ethereum as the test network. So it can take up to an hour to get some ETH, but you don't need to put in anything other than you just put your wallet address. You wait, you click a button, wait an hour or 2 to get some ETH, and then you're good to go. And you can actually mint TitanX in the DApp. Up to, I think it's $1 trillion every time you mint. So if you want to feel like you're a trillionaire in TitanX terms, I mean, now's your chance. So
you can take that ETH in the DApp. Where's the DApp gone? In the DApp, where did the DApp go? Okay, let me come back. Let's enter the DApp from here. And so you can take that and you can use it in the ETH is unavailable here. Where do you use the ETH on the testnet?
On the testnet, it's just for paying for your gas.
Oh, okay. Just paying
so
the gas.
If you were to connect your wallet, you'd be able to go to the top right where it says connect wallet button, and that will show a disconnect button or a mint TitanX button.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yep.
So you can follow those instructions. I think it's fairly self-evident when you go through those. And that gets us to some of the white paper, which people can get through. Now, is there anything you want to particularly highlight in here for the white paper?
Sure. Yeah, there's actually, I was just looking through the comments to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And Crypto Nobody had a great point, which there's so many little features to this system. It's hard to get all of them, but you can end your stake. This is the one unique thing that adds a ton of game theory to Torus is at the 50% mark of your stake, you can retrieve what you've staked, your principal.
Wow.
You lose all your earned at that point, at specifically the 50% mark. But you can actually retrieve your staked amount back if you ever need to. Now, what's cool about this is there's a number of things that happen when this occurs. Up to that point, all of your earned Torus is split. 50% goes into the next day's payout for everybody else. 50% is burned. And that same pattern is for any penalties in the system. So there is another deflationary mechanic in Torus as well. But when you're ending your stake early, it's a little weird to think about, but you can basically, when you are ending your stake early, or you can at 50%, or you can actually go all the way to the very end at 100%. This means you can claim all of your earned tokens in a 50% window, right? That makes sense? So, which means that for every time you go 1%, you're earning 2% of what you've earned to that point, right? So 51% gives you 2% of your total amount of earnings. 75% at the early end stake gives you 50% of what you've earned plus your principal. And that's the way the staking works. So it really,
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
It really rewards delayed gratification going to the 88 mark, but while still giving you something.
Yeah. Not the Birdo's Hex on the,
exactly. Well, honestly, on that note, I really wanted to, I love Hex. But personally, I don't feel people should be penalized or punished for life happening or for making some kind of mistake or anything like that. I want people, when they put economic energy in, that's why I keep saying this is one of the safest protocols, because you can't lose what you put in. You can't. There's no penalties that can ever take that away from you. What's yours is yours. The only thing that can ever be taken away is what you've earned that you haven't claimed yet.
Yep, love it. Okay, great. Thanks, No Crypto Nobody. It was a great comment. We've got a couple of questions here before we get in a few of the highlights in the white paper. We've got here, Frank White says, looking forward to Unity on Pulse. And we got Brennan says, 84% is great. Where does the other 16% go? Good question.
I'm glad you asked. So there is, the buy and burn is 84%. The buy and build, remember that liquidity building contract, right? That's 8%. There is another Titanx specific buy and burn that happens, which is 4.31%, which this is really cool, because normally what happens when protocols have a Titanx specific buy and burn is it's part of the buy and burn contract, and slowly over time, there's a little bit every call that comes out of the buy and burn that chips away at buying and burning Titanx. But this isn't the case with Torus. With Torus, if you come in right now, or you were to come in the system, you're bringing 10 grand, it takes $431, which is 4.31%. And immediately, if it's ETH, buys and then burns Titanx, or immediately burns Titanx the moment you make a transaction coming into stake or create in the Torus system. You don't wait for that. That happens immediately. So that's a huge thing. I'm really happy with that. I'm really excited to see how well that impacts and pushes constant buy pressure into Titanx along with the buy and burn. But that's only 96.31%. So the last 3.69% is to an address called Genesis. Now, it's no expectations address. It could have the best intentions or the worst intentions, or it could be used for anything. It's one of those kind of addresses. So you'll have to watch it over time and see exactly how it operates. And if that is an issue for those who are listening, that's totally fine. I understand. Watch over time and see how it operates, and you can understand what its patterns are in the future.
Yep, sure. That sounds fun. Brendan's got another one here. Is the fractal similar to Vortex and Hyper?
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's a slight twist on the Vortex, but more or less it is the Vortex.
Okay, cool. Nice feature, the share button, says Brennan. Smooth and Crypto says, can't wait to see how perfectly timed Taurus launch date will be in the macro market.
Yeah, shout out to Smooth. Great dude. Shout out to him and Flair. Flair's killing it lately.
Who else have we got? Any others there? Hey, good to see you, Wookie, in the house. All right, so some highlights here in the white paper. I'm going to move us a little bit here just so we can see the menu.
Yeah,
a bit of movie magic is in the house. All right, so we got a couple of lines. We got Torus simplified, supply mechanics, create Torus, stake Torus, earning Torus, Titanx, and ETH distribution, grace periods. Where would you like to go here first?
Well, let's go to the supply mechanics, and then let's go to earning, because I think creating and staking we've kind of got a handle on, but I really want to hit home, the supply, how it affects the ROI, and the scarcity of the system over time and the difficulty of the system.
Yeah.
So the supply mechanics, there's two, right? So the primary supply is going to come from creating, which is where you are acting like a miner in the sense where you're creating some upfront that you're guaranteed to get at the end of your creation period, right? Mm-hmm. In addition, you get the earn tokens, but that's the primary guaranteed method that supply is going to come into existence from, right? The secondary supply is from the Torus pool. Now, this is this central point of the system we referred to where every day there's a certain amount of tokens being issued in that, that block reward, the daily block reward that we talked about. That's the Torus pool. And so this is a fixed number of tokens that can come out over time, which declines daily, right? So it starts at 100,000 tokens. And like it says here, gets perpetually lowered by 0.08% per day, right? And like I said, the total amount of tokens that we'll see from this pool will be less than 125 million. And that's before penalties, that's before deflation, that's before all these other burn mechanics and locking it up. So Torus could actually be a very scarce token over time. It really can. And I want people to understand that. And also, Torus also supports governance. So at some point, who knows what could happen? There's obviously no expectations of what may or may not come in the future. But Torus has the capacity to be a governance token. and to allow for voting for adjustments within the protocol.
Yep. So presumably Torus can also be interacted with other projects and roadmaps as well to amplify the value.
For sure. Yeah. If people are, or if builders want to build on Torus, please do. I think it's a different system. So it takes a different type of system to be built on top, and the regular stuff we've seen might not work the same. But yeah, I mean, by all means, if someone wants to build on Torus and they have an awesome idea, like reach out. I'm not going to fund it for you, but I'm happy to talk about it. And if you've got a really great idea, I will 100% support it. It doesn't. And if I don't support something, it doesn't mean it's not necessarily a good idea. I'm just not so sure about it. Right.
Yeah. So presumably the contracts will be verified, renounced, and all that jazz.
Yeah, so there's going to be verified contracts. There are going to be some parameters that can be changed in the contract, but within certain thresholds. Like things cannot be shut off. Things can't be like emptied in a day. And that's to do with the buy and burn, the buy and build, and parameters around that. That's a little bit of a more dense subject because there's a lot of little nuances to those parameters, but it's all in and written very concisely in the Titanx and ETH distribution for those of you who want to check it out further. Maybe we get into it later, but don't have to.
Later. Yeah. All right. So that's the supply mechanics. Very cool.
Yep.
And then the other one we're going to go to is the earnings Torus.
Yes.
So is a popular topic.
I really want people to understand. So we're going to start with the share system because the share system is the backbone of the system where the system only reads shares. You have shares in the system, you get paid out. If you want to go do the math there, it's all there. We won't get into that. But why this is important to understand is because the Torus pool is one of the most unique things about the protocol. Mm-hmm. Every 88 days, or however long your stake or creation is, the moment, even if you haven't claimed it, the moment you've finished your term, the system removes your shares. This is really important to understand because this means that the ROI can spike once shares are removed.
Yeah.
Right. So less participation, people not coming back into the system, people leaving the system increases ROI for everybody else. And so
I would say that's quite magical. It's a very magical moment in the live stream because it's a key takeaway.
That was awesome. Thank you for doing that. That was great. But I really want people to understand that. It's like the Torus pool is one of the most unique aspects of it, and understanding how this works over time is key to understanding how the creation and the stake actions with this Torus pool make this original mechanic we were talking about, where the price never dips too hard, or like it never has these major long-term correction periods where like everyone's like, oh, is it dead? It has all this in it where it's like, it kind of cleanses itself. It's like cleanses and then incentivizes people to come back in and restart the system. Because if you have people that are in it for like 10 years, you have that part of the pool that's just permanently diluted. Essentially,
it's kind of stale. Yeah,
exactly.
This is where we're saying that part of your protocol is really about creating a dynamic environment, and that really is a really good feature for that.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else on this page in particular that you want to highlight? They've got charts down here, which I think's your shares.
So yeah, this is one of them. This is the difficulty of the shares per 100 power creation over time, and like how many shares you get. But I would say for people that really want to understand the ROI, come here and read this blurb or this section here on the estimation for the DApp, just to get completely clear on what it is. It's really important to understand that what you see on the DApp is an estimation, and it's more a directional. It's like a compass more so, which also is telling you roughly what you're going to look at for some kind of ROI, right? So really important to understand that. The other thing I think would be great to go to, let's go look at the charts in the Create Torus page and then the Staking Torus page. We won't go through the mechanics because we already gone through that.
Yeah.
But if you want to see the difficulty of creating 1,000 tokens in Titanx costs, this first chart shows you how quickly it rises. If you go to the 20-year chart, it's like just goes insane, right? So it's slow and creeps, and then all of a sudden it's just like it takes off. And if you scroll up the last little, or if you scroll up above the charts here, see where it says difficulty, and it shows 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So in 5 years, the system gets 4.3 times more difficult to participate in. In 10 years, it gets almost 19 times more difficult. And in 20 years, it gets 346 times more difficult. Now, the reason this is important to understand is because Titan X is also designed to become more difficult to obtain over time. So now if the price of Titan X goes up in value, if Titan X does a 2x from where it launches, you need to double these numbers because that's what the difficulty is doing. So if Titan X does thousands of X's, you have to multiply the X's that Titan X does by these difficulty metrics to understand how difficult the system is going to get over time. So it can get pretty wild.
That is incredible. Yep.
Yeah. So I love these sound effects. You're killing me, but I love them.
It is awesome. It is awesome. And, this is some of the secret sauce, though, right? This is some of the alpha drops we're talking about that people can hear about is these supply dynamics, which are going to keep things moving around. And, people with the X returns on the back of Titan X as well. There's so much good stuff baked into this Torus protocol. Pretty awesome. Now we're also going to look at the staking one there. So we got that as well. Got the 5 year and the 20 year.
Probably see it's very, very similar. It's basically the same chart.
It's as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So everything on the staking side is very similar to the creation side. Staking is very unique. I want people to understand that the staking mechanism is going to be more powerful than people are anticipating, because as on day one, it takes 500 million to get into the staking protocol with 1,000 Torus, right? For over 88 days. But over time, let's say in 5 years, it's going to be 230 some odd or 220 some odd Torus staked will cost 500 million. So that actually means that for every 200 and something Torus that exists, the protocol can bring in 500 million. And if there is millions of Torus, like 60 million or 50 million at that point, that means you need to think about how much Titan X staking can bring in. And because the supply is expanding and the difficulty is going up, the staking is going to cost more and more and more over time, meaning the buy and burn is going to be fed more and more and more. So the staking actually becomes even more sustainable as time goes on.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. We got that probably a good segue to the Titan X and ETH distribution, I think, a little bit.
Yep. Now this section's a little bit information dense.
We just have to highlight it. Yeah, we don't have to. People can read through it, but any highlights about this?
Yeah. So I'll go. I mean, I've made it as concise as I possibly can, but it's the parameters that we really got to dive into for those really looking to understand that. So there's two phases. We kept it simple to here, understanding like the long term, what's going to happen for Torus. Those metrics that we talked about are going to continue on into the sunset after a short phase, in the beginning of Torus. So this is called phase one. It's the liquidity focus. And instead of 84% and 8% being sent to the buy and burn and the buy and build, it's changed in favor of building the liquidity pool initially, so that liquidity pool can become robust very fast and help the system stabilize very, very quickly. So initially, instead of 84%, 64% of the Titan X or ETH will be sent to the buy and burn, so reduced by 20%. But the buy and build is going to be increased by 20%. So this means the liquidity pool can build very, 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 very fast.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, now this is a manual thing that needs to be done. It can't be changed past these numbers. There's a manual thing that Genesis can do where when it hits the number that's most appropriate, then that can be switched. And when that is basically switched over, it automatically resets the numbers to 84% buy and burn and 8% buy and build. There's no in between there. It's just like Genesis can change that by saying, okay, phase two, and then it switches. There's nothing can be adjusted to like make the buy and burn way less and do anything weird. It's only by those parameters. So
what is the time frame for phase one? Is it dynamic or you got a fixed period?
It's not a fixed period. So it's like I said, it's a manual function that needs to be called because it depends on participation. There's likely going to be a certain number that will be aimed at based on dollar value at the time, based on the value of Titan and a few other things to make sure that the liquidity is sufficient. And then as soon as that gets to that point, it'll be switched over. Then we go back to phase 2, which is burn focused. Now, we've already talked about this. 84% is burning. 8% is going to build the liquidity pool. 4.3% is going to buy and burn Titan X. Genesis gets 3.69%. And now let's talk about quickly just liquidity pools before we get into Genesis and the parameters. The initial liquidity pool is going to start with the first 200 billion Titan X and 20,000 Torus will be minted to match that in a full range Uniswap V3 pool. So that's going to happen pretty quickly, I think. The LP fees, the Torus is burnt and the Titan X is sent over to Genesis. Okay. So Genesis also has the ability to talk about the actual parameters.
Let's not skip too fast over that because we got Titan X going to Genesis. Now I've seen the impact of that before.
Right.
So that could be pretty interesting to watch, as you said earlier. Watch the patterns.
Just watch patterns. If you don't trust it, totally understand. So Genesis now, remember how we talked about there's every 10 minutes the buy and burn or the buy and build can be called perpetually. Now, we haven't talked about the amount. The amount can be set by Genesis within a specific threshold. So the amount can be set between 1 and 10% of the total contract balance for the buy and burns or the buy and builds. Meaning nothing can be spent more than 10% of the total contract balance in the day or 1%. So you never have to worry about Genesis changing the parameter to burning everything in one shot or in a day. It's only max 10%. This is for the buy and burn and the buy and build. The only other thing, and I know this is a lot, so I said this is going to be an information dense period here.
No, it's good. It's good. This is what people need to hear.
Exactly. And I want to be transparent with all this stuff too. I want people to know exactly what they're getting into. And if they don't like it, that's totally fine. Want to be as open as possible. So the last pieces to this are, and actually, this is probably one of my favorite things. I absolutely love this. So Genesis can actually reduce the Titan X burn and the buy and build only down from 8%. It can never increase it, but it can reduce it down if it needs to. This is really important to understand. Imagine a time Titan X is super successful. Torus is super successful. And Torus has like $100 million in liquidity. Let's just throw that out there because it's stupidly huge. $2,000 buy and build transactions are literally not doing anything. It's basically a value leak at that point, right? It's inefficient. So why not be able to reroute that to the buy and burn, which specifically buys up tokens and burns it, meaning it's no longer a value leak and it's actually increased efficiency for the system. The same thing can be done for the Titan X burn, where if Titan X is like insanely rare, it's insanely valuable, buying and burning it does literally nothing. Well, turn it down to 0 or mitigate or whatever's needed there within that parameter and this is the cool thing, is that the buy and burn can actually increase from 84% to 96.31% of all the economic energy coming into the protocol. And I don't know any other protocol that's doing that, but that's huge. I think personally.
Huge. Yeah, it's massive. Yeah, I love it. So, man, this is going to be a fun ride, honestly. Where would you like to go next from here? With Titan X and ETH?
Let's go grace periods. And then I think we can finish up with the audits and the contracts.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, so grace periods.
Yes. So we already kind of touched on this, but I really want to hammer this home so people really understand, the way the system operates and the penalty system. So when you finish your creation or your stake, you have a 14-day window. I wanted to make sure people had time, right? 14 days after that finishes to be able to claim all of your earned tokens without penalties. If you exceed that 14-day period, every single day, you're going to lose 14.28% of what you've earned only. And that goes basically, so after 7 days, you'll have lost 100% of what you've earned, but you will never lose your principal staked or created tokens. You cannot have that taken away from you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important things in the system.
We love you, CryptoGRFX. That's beautiful.
Where's
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Like a lot of people get annoyed by the very fact that they lose their principal as well, right? So it's nice thinking there.
Man, you know what? I'm one of those people where like I've seen that happen where it's like, this sucks, bro. Like, man, like, and I've seen people that just like made a simple mistake, and I'm like, I don't want this to happen. So I'm glad that I can include it in my protocol. But the other thing here is the penalties. And so remember, we've got burning happening from the buy and burn. We've got burning happening from the LP fees. And we also have burning happening from the penalties. So this is awesome. So of all the penalties, there is 50% that is taken and immediately burned upon the time of claiming. The other 50% are given back to the Torus pool for the next day's payout, meaning the next day's payout is going to increase in value, which is really cool. And a thing I want to point out here is that if you've noticed in this system, there's never been talk of Genesis or any OA getting any Torus. No centralized entity gets any Torus tokens. If Genesis wants Torus tokens, Genesis needs to acquire them independently. They need to participate in the system, buy them off the market in order to get Torus. There's no supply given to Genesis whatsoever. Not even from penalties.
Yeah.
And I really want people to understand that.
Genesis is getting ETH and Titanx.
Exactly. Yeah. So it can only, it can't just sell down the price of Torus if it, for some reason, right? It can never
knows what Genesis will do, generally speaking, but it could be good. Yeah, whatever. You decide.
We'll see.
Okay. We'll see. And then it's a grace period, 50% of penalties in tokens burnt, 50% redistribution Torus pool. Yep, nice.
Exactly. So that's I really want to hit this home so people can understand the forgiveness of the system, the grace it gives others.
Yeah.
And let's if does that make perfect sense?
There are no disgruntled employees.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no disgruntled employees. You got a FAQ. People can read through that too. And then you've got the audits and contracts, which is probably where we'll wrap up here, apart from the socials that I want to talk about.
Yes, please.
So we've got the audits and contracts to BA completion, 2 audits completed prior to launch. So I guess we can talk about the audits and the launch.
So we're going to have 2 audits done, like it says here. We have, and if it takes more, we'll do more, but 2 audits are going to be at least the standard, and those will be published publicly to make sure everyone has clear understanding and information to make their informed choices to get in the system or not. And everything will be here. It's going to be by reputable auditors. The one that we're working with currently, will publish the name soon, has done many Titanx ecosystem tokens, and they've all been very, very successful. So, we're not. What's that? Sorry.
I think he's that famous guy, right? That does the audits. Yep.
Yeah, if you've seen him on X, it's George. Is his name. He goes by George. So we'll have 2 audits here. Those will be public. The contracts will be out here, and it's simple, but I want people to really understand that there's a lot of thought, a lot of security, making double checking everything. We want this thing to come out and be flawless. That's why the audits are there. That's why I found who I think are the best of the best for this job, and that's why everything is done so well. It's not because I got in to do it myself. It's because the people that I have on my team are fantastic and have the same standards or higher than I do. So, and that's the energy I want to be bringing into Torus completely from start to finish.
And that's that really quality touch with the old audits there. So very cool. We got the socials as well. You can hit the socials tab and get access to that. I posted a few of these in the chat. x.com/TorusWin, telegram.me/TorusWin, website Torus.win, which I posted in the chat as well. And then there's going to be a June analytics page coming up as well. Now that probably shifts us in, I guess, into the launch phase. You got testnet on at the moment. how are things looking around that?
So the testnet's coming very, very well. We just got back our first audit report from the one auditing company. We're doing all the changes right now. We're about to resubmit the code based on those changes, get that secondary report done. And then we're still waiting on our second audit to come back. And so the checklists are, there's some animations that are coming to the DApp, along with like a couple little tweaks. I think I saw one or two that still need to make today. And that's pretty much it for the DApp to be done. But the main thing, and this is the biggest thing I ask of everyone watching here, is please share the hell out of this. Please share the Torus Telegram. If you're not in the Telegram, please join, because the goal before Torus can go live is 1,000 members in TG. That's the thing. I want to make sure that this has a minimum support level of people that are interested, so that way it has the most power and the most sustainability going into the future. I don't want this to be like a 10,000 person entry point protocol when it starts. I want to reward those who are early with the opportunity that Torus presents, but we need to hit a certain number to launch. So if you're not in the Telegram, please go to t.me/TorusWin, hop in there. And if everyone in that group brings one person in, we're at the cap easy. We're already 60% of the way there. I think just over 600 members. And I think this is going to work out perfect though, because we've probably got another week or two. If things keep going the pace they're going, for Torus to actually go live. But if all things go well, it could be then.
If you can launch the beginning of June or something, the timing's got to be absolutely perfect. I mean, it really, given what we know, it's I think that's going to be pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so that is the Telegram group. I posted that in the chat there, so definitely check that out. I think I might have posted it twice actually, or 3 times. Who knows? Perfect. And that is the X account, so definitely follow Torus there as well. And I wanted to post CryptoGRFX stuff if you wanted to hear more about that, because we've got one more little thing before we leave, because we've got probably another 5 minutes to go. And I wanted to talk about the next project, Unity on PulseX. And I know a lot of the PulseChain community that we're pretty excited about that. But that is CryptoGRFX. Give them a follow. And let's get into Unity briefly. Yes, I might pull that up actually. Let's go talk about Unity briefly here.
Yep.
So you got some things to say about this, because it's got a date on there, Q2 2025.
Yep. Now, I mean, realistically, I should probably pull that down, because that was also the expectation that Torus was going to launch Q1. Yeah. So thank you for the reminder there. It could still be Q2. We're in Q2 still, but we'll see. So Unity though is, I mean, even if you look at the logo, it's that same ethos. It's that electromagnetic field, viewing it from the side as far as the branding goes. So it's the same thing, same message. It's all about us being all connected and being a part of one big thing. And it's the same system, but instead of it being built on Ethereum and in Titanx, it's built on PulseChain, and it's built on top of PulseX. Now, this is going to be fun, because like on Torus, where you could bring in ETH or Titanx, if you don't want to get rid of your PulseX, you can just bring in Pulse. You don't need to sell your PulseX to get into Unity. But when you bring in your Pulse is going to go towards buying and burning PulseX and buying and burning Unity as well. So it gives complete flexibility. So if you are okay with putting in your PulseX, great. If you just want to put in Pulse, great. It works for everybody. So exact same system, everything that people were excited about and people thought was really cool about Torus is the exact same for Unity. It's going to come out a little bit later. Now, the cool thing about the DApp, the exact same DApp, different branding. If you want to get a little bit of an idea of what it is, just look at the logo. Think about the borders, think about the color buttons and how they might match that black and blue to purple gradient. I think that's going to be really cool. I think Unity is going to look beautiful as well. Same simplistic design, but it's the exact same thing. And I can't wait for it to come out too. It's going to be really fun to be building on PulseChain as well.
So what's behind the name Unity? Because you got the Torus, the electromagnetics. Is it giving away too much, or?
No, I mean, Unity is there. So Unity and Torus are not connected.
Okay.
In any way, shape, or form. They're completely independent of one another. And that was a decision made systemically. It was when you understand these systems well enough, it's like connecting them too quickly to other liquidity pools. it could just make the system go up too slow or come down. So it has positive and negative effects, of that. But Unity was chosen because, this whole electromagnetic idea of the torus field and the bioelectromagnetic fields that, we're referring to here, connect us all. And so that's this idea of unity. And I've been seeing actually a lot, which is really cool, PulseChain, and people like, we need to unite as one community. And I was like, unity. We need unity on PulseChain. And I actually saw Alex from Hedron and Icosa the other day. He was like, we need unification on PulseChain. I was like, I have right here.
Yeah, that's true. And we do have a lot of crossover. I mean, we've got Janice over here from the dude. We talked about him the other day. We got the Eros guys. Eros guys coming with the PulseChain stuff. We've got a few others as well. So yeah, Unity is going to combine them all into the awesomeness, so to speak.
Great, yeah.
At least from a symbolic point of view. Now we got a couple of questions just to lead out the end here. Just we'll quickly rapid fire these, but we got Brennan says this could be the most valuable project behind TitanX. Yeah, keep a lookout. I mean, this is what it's all about. That's why we brought CryptoGRFX on, right? This is pretty exciting.
Appreciate that comment. That's a cool comment. I appreciate that. Seriously. That's a cool comment, though. Thank you for saying that.
Brennan knows the TitanX ecosystem pretty well, so that's a good observation there. What else? Have you spoken about building on Torus yet? I think we kind of answered that earlier. You can add to that if you want. But
I mean, no one's come to me with like, hey, I have an idea. I can't confirm or deny whether I will or will not, or do not already have plans. But we'll see. I wonder how soon it's going to come. Torus is a different system. It's a little harder to build on.
Yeah, there's a lot of developers in the ecosystem. So you just never know as well.
Exactly.
The Unity effect. I like that. That's cool. Yeah,
That's
you can make some pretty cool graphics with that.
For sure.
We got Crypto Cycle says, what do you think about Torus and let the coins mint, then bridge over the supply and value PulseChain, TitanX liquidity where the coin value goes into PulseChain and LP with Titan coins?
Right, yeah. So he asked me this on another stream as well, and I think I'm not for or against anyone doing anything with their tokens. That's totally fine. The only thing I will continue to say this is, when you are going to go one way versus another, you have to really understand the opportunity cost. And if you're going one way with your tokens to potentially get like 5 or 10% in LP fees versus giving up 100, 200, 300% in the system, to me, that doesn't really make sense. But that could also be the opposite, right? Torus could have 5, 10% yield at some point, and LP fees could have 15, 20, 50, 100%. So it's like, it's not about, right or wrong. It's about just understanding, if you're going to make a move, what's the opportunity cost? And is this really the most effective use of my time and my economic energy? So I'm not for or against anything, but I would say that is the ethos I would like to put out there. Is I want people to really think about before they make any moves.
All right, last comment before we wrap up here, and that is Crypto Nobody says, more streams I watch, the more money I'm going to put into Torus. I can understand that. That is a pretty outstanding protocol, and you got to be pretty optimistic about it. We got Crypto Utah in the house there, another developer teams in TitanX. Hi, Superman and Superman and CryptoGRFX.
Utah's the man.
Yeah, ebbs and flows, that's for sure, 100%. Now, I'm going to just sort of end the show here. If you want to give your final comments, but before we do that, let's jump over into the interface, which I think is a thing of beauty. So final comments.
You know what? I want to say, first of all, thank you, because this has been a great stream. You're fun to talk to. I loved your questions. Yeah. And, I think people, if you're excited about Torus, please share it. Please talk to people in real life. Please share the Telegram. Even if you get one more person interested, it changes everything. And, this is a really exciting time. We're on the precipice of some really fun months ahead. And if you think Torus is going to do well and you really want it to do well, then please share it out. Please join the Telegrams and be a part of the Torus family. I don't know what we're going to call ourselves. Maybe we're just the Torus family. But I'd say that's it. So thank you.
All right. Awesome stuff. And thank you so much, CryptoGRFX. He is what I call a high performance all-rounder. We appreciate everything you do, CryptoGRFX. And I think this new Torus looks outstanding, and we're getting some pretty awesome comments in the chat about it too. All right, take care, everybody. We'll catch you on the next show. Peace out, and enjoy. I haven't actually got my clothes on this particular setup, so we're going to start off with the entrance. All right, take care.
Great.
Bye for now.
All right. See you guys.